Superstation is a VarAC extension that's a game where you can build your virtual ham radio station and earn points by connecting with operators all around the world. In this four-part video series, I'll be going over Superstation and the philosophy behind the game. We'll talk about the game mechanics and scoring, the user interface, as well as some tips and pointers on how you can get the most out of enjoying the Superstation experience. So with that, let's go ahead and proceed into part one for the Superstation series. So my name is Jason Johnson, amateur radio operator, Kilo 3 Juliet, Sierra Juliet. I'm the developer of the Superstation app, and I work alongside of Mark Rosnick, KB0 US, to come up with the dynamics for the game, as well as we run a website, VarAC Wednesday. I would encourage you to check the website out. That's where you can go to download Superstation, and you can do that by scanning the QR code. There's also a link in the comments of this video to get the hyperlink to download the game and learn more about VarAC Wednesday. So in this part one of the four-part series, I'm going to go over the gameplay mechanics and the user interface of Superstation. So Mark and I developed Superstation to create a way to gamify the use of VarAC. We noticed in our interactions with colleagues on the VarAC Wednesday, one of the common themes that we heard back was operators wanted to have more human interaction, meaning they wanted to have more contacts throughout the week with individuals using the VarAC application. And it's a great app. You can chat with someone, you can send them messages, you can also send them images. So it's a great application, and we created Superstation to help encourage making that human-to-human contact between operators. So when you use Superstation, you are rewarded by making that QSO, by having a conversation keyboard to keyboard with someone on the other end of the radio. We also award a distance multiplier by having the maximum distance between your station as well as your QSO partner station. And the distance multiplier is the maximum value across all of your QSOs. So maybe if you have a connection with someone and it drops out and you don't get awarded credit, that's okay, because you can try another QSO and hopefully exceed that max distance. Superstation also adds a gaming element where it increases engagement. We want to engage the community and increase the usage of VarAC application. And also it leads to having more conversations about our hobbies and interests, and maybe even helping the other operator with troubleshooting tips that they may need help with. And then finally, Mark and I have created a contest where you can use Superstation to compete with other operators all around the world. You do this by entering a start and end date into the application, and your QSOs are scored during those timeframes. So let's go ahead and talk about the scoring system in Superstation. There's three components of the overall score. The first is your station score. You have a virtual ham radio station that you're building up. And think of this as a station that's running in parallel with your physical station. You use your radio, your physical station, in order to build out your Superstation to get an upgrade to a really nice ham radio shack. There's four pieces of equipment that are typically used in many operators' stations. Those would be a computer, a radio, an amplifier, and an antenna. And when you begin the game, you start out at level 0 on all those pieces of equipment, and you use a mechanic to upgrade your station. The station score is calculated by multiplying the values of each piece of equipment together to get a maximum station score. The second component of the overall score is a contact score. And this is going to be the sum of all the contacts that you make during the begin and end date when you set up the Superstation app. Now, there's a couple stipulations here. You must have a QSO that lasts at least 10 minutes. And some folks wonder why that might be. Well, this goes back to the philosophy of why Mark and I created this in the first place. We want to increase the amount of human-to-human interaction on the radio bands. And this is done by having more long-form QSOs, where you're getting to know the operator from around the world. You're exchanging information about your station and where you live and your interest and your background. And doing this helps to promote the advancement of the radio hobby, as well as relationships where we can get to know each other and build a common spirit of helping one another in goodwill. The second part of the contact that you must have is it has to be a human-to-human contact. VarAC has some ability to send information to the remote station and receive information back. This can be done in an unattended form, meaning the operator doesn't have to be at their keyboard. They can be away, and you can send information and get information back from that station. Examples of this would be the info command, which is a tag that requests information from the operator. This would be their QTH, their name, as well as other information that they've set up in VarAC. Well, let's think about the philosophy of why we created this. It's all about creating that human-to-human contact. So in order for a QSO to score, you need to be talking to another human. And the final part of the score is a distance multiplier. This is calculated by calculating the distance between your grid square and your home QTH, or where you're operating, and the grid square of where your QSO partner is operating. And this distance is calculated in kilometers. The total score is going to be the product of all of the individual scores. That would be the product of the station score, the contact score, and finally, the distance score. Now, if one of these scores is 0, then the entire score will be 0. Now keep that in mind when you're first starting out in Superstation. When you first start, your station score is going to be 0 because all your equipment is 0, and you may not have any contacts made during the contest period. So the result would be 0. So we'll go ahead and go through some examples of that in later videos, and you'll see how this scoring point system works. Okay, so let's quickly go over the user interface to Superstation. When you load the app, you're presented with a couple things. There's a progress indicator, there's some station scores, and there's little icons in the middle, which represent the equipment that you have for your virtual ham radio station. Your station score is highlighted in yellow, and this is the value that you're upgrading throughout the game. In purple is the contact score. That's the sum of all your QSOs that are at least 10 minutes in length, and recall it has to be with a human operator. And then the final component is your distance score, and that is the maximum distance across all your QSOs during the contest period. Now in the middle, I mentioned the station equipment. So we have a computer, a radio, an amplifier, and antenna. And notice there's a question mark on all of these because it hasn't been revealed to me what that equipment looks like because I haven't earned it yet. And we'll see in a minute in future videos how you earn those pieces of equipment and you upgrade your station. So let's focus on the total score again. You notice that that is set to 0 right now. And that's because the product of the station, contact, and distance score is equal to 0. Because I haven't upgraded any piece of equipment, right now my total score is going to be 0. The next thing I'll highlight is this roles element. This is something I'll talk about in the next video, and it's a game mechanic that you use to upgrade your pieces of equipment. And the way it works is you have a limited number of rolls per day, and you have a total number of rolls that you have made throughout the game. So the first number, in this case 0, is the total number of rolls that I've made for my Superstation. And it's set to 0 right now because I haven't made any rolls. The next number in parentheses is the number of rolls I have left today. And there is a limit on the number of times that you have to upgrade have a chance to upgrade your station in a given day. The final thing I'll highlight at the bottom of the screen is a next log check. And this is a timer that will count up. And once the green bar fills totally up, it will inquire into VarAC to check to see if you've made a QSO before, if you've completed a QSO. If it does, you'll get an alert to reflect if that QSO counted for points. One thing I forgot to highlight, I will point out, is below the log check timer, there's a little gray box, and that's where status messages will be presented. So here's a copy of the screenshot of my Superstation. We're running currently a contest period from the 17th of November through November the 30th. It's a mini game. And you can see that I've scored quite a bit on my Superstation. I've maxed out my computer, radio, and amplifier all to level 4, and my antenna is still at level 3. So on the screen, the rolls, my total rolls is 26. So I've had 26 rolls of the dice, which resulted in me upgrading 3 of my 4 components to max strength. And the number 2 reflects that I have 2 rolls left on that particular day when the screenshot was taken. And the station multiplier multiplied by the contact and distance will give you the total score number. All right, so in summary, in this video, we've talked about the game mechanics of Superstation. We've gone over the scoring system, and we've talked about the user interface. Now recall that if one of the scores is 0, your total score will also be 0. So you need to make QSOs in order to earn points to increase that one, as well as make rolls in order to upgrade components of your Superstation. So thanks for joining us for the first in 4 videos on this series. Again, my name is Jason, K3GSJ, and I would invite you to subscribe to my channel, as well as visit the website and download Superstation. You'll find a walkthrough guide there with a user manual, as well as a video. And with that, I trust that you're doing well. And until next time, 73.